Thank you for joining us today on the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp, your host. I'm also the founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. We provide leadership development strategy, training, coaching, mentoring, consulting on topics such as leadership, communication, personal growth, emotional intelligence, building a culture that is successful. Get all your team developed and growing in the right direction, rowing in the right direction, carrying the burden of your team so that your company can scale the way you want it to. Give us a call or shoot me an email and have your free introductory consultation. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsor, MTL Telephones. That's mtltelephones.com. You want to give them a call at 631-823-7100. MTL Telephones provides voice over IP telephone services, most likely cheaper than the price that you're paying right now, and more options. For example, I use it for my telephone service, and I can answer my call from any device, my laptop, a tablet, my smartphone, or a phone system from anywhere in the world. I can answer it here, or my assistant can answer it halfway across the world. Voicemail messages get transcribed and sent to me as text messages, as well as I can send and receive text messages from that voice over IP. They also have an AI auto assistant so that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, your phone can be answered by an AI assistant that you have trained. So once again, you want to give them a call, go visit their website at mtltelephones.com or call their number at 631-823-7100. Pick option 5 for sales. Give Mike a call. So thank you so much, MTL, for being our sponsor for this broadcast. Welcome back, everybody. This is the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp. I am your host today. We are jumping into some good leadership experiences, good leadership practical mindsets and skills and strategies that you can use for your business to develop your team, grow your team. So today we've got a very special guest, good friend that I've known for actually a few years. We haven't really had a whole lot of time, chatting together one-on-one, but we've sort of been connected in the same room a lot of times, having some many conversations over the course of time. Anthony Buenaspina from LI Tech Advisors. And the other day we were on a meeting and I just heard a lot of the great things he was saying, a lot of the great things he's done with his company over the course of time. And I said, this is somebody who I think has a voice that would be great to get this practical wisdom in business leadership out to the world. And so we invited him on today. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you. Why don't you greet our listening audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me on, and hello to everybody out in that audience. Basically, I'm the founder and CEO of LI Tech Advisors. We've been around 35 years, and I've been doing this forever. In fact, over 45 years ago, I worked on some top secret work for the government. It included AI work.
Wow.
But yeah, the business I started 35 years ago has evolved, from a traditional technology provider into a strategic technology advisory firm, workflow automation, business intelligence, of course, AI, and specifically AI governance. And then, basically my belief in leadership, combines a clear direction, measurable accountability, employee trust, continuous improvement, especially now, and, willingness to experiment. So basically, business becomes scalable, when knowledge, responsibilities, decision-making are built into the repeatable processes and the DNA of the company.
Now, how did you come up with these ideas? This is obviously you've been around for 35 years. Most businesses are failing in 5 years. So you've sevenfold exceeded that. It doesn't seem like your business is, going down anytime soon. So, you've grown. Tech has obviously changed tremendously in the past 35 years. You've been able to pivot with that. But these leadership philosophies like continuous improvement. I will say that I read a book, the first leadership book that my mentor, actually, when I first started back in 1995 at a global telecom company, he recommended a book called The Goal by Eliyahu Goldratt, I think is the name. And the subtitle of the book is The Process of Continuous Improvement. So to tell us about how you came up with that, as a part of your core culture. Like you mentioned like 3 or 4 or 5 different items, but one of them was that continuous improvement. How did you come up with that, and how do you roll that out with your team?
Well, That's a loaded question. It's the thing is about we always have to be prepared for change. Like the book "Who Moved My Cheese." I love that
Yeah.
book. All right, it's a matter you
Great
always
book.
got to keep checking for change, and as things happen, we have on our every Friday afternoon we'd have dope and chill time. We call it basically just to think about what's coming next. Where's the world going? Interview our clients and ask them where things are going with them, what they would like to see, and be able to adjust the business accordingly so that we are ready. We're riding the wave instead of getting crushed by it. We did that
Yeah.
with the AI work years ago. Specifically, 2 years ago, we went heavily into it. But that's pretty much it. You prepare for change, and adopt your business and pivot it as needed. And also, your employees need to be infectious learners. That's one of
Yeah.
my criteria when I'm hiring. They have to want to learn because things are changing so quickly.
It's interesting how you say that, because it's so relevant for a business leader, the CEO, founder, to establish a culture, a set of core beliefs that everybody in the company owns and aspires to live all that culture out in their day-to-day decisions, and to implement that deliberately from the onboarding process, right? From the interview process. I'm going to interview people. Do you have the requisite core values that we ascribe to in our business? And one of those is that continuous development. Are you an avid learner? Do you desire to continuously self-develop? If you're not really a good fit here. And so by starting that off in the interview process, we make sure that our people that are coming into the company know what the culture is like. They're a good fit for the company. And they know they're telling you, they're in that interview process, convincing you that, hey, I am actually a person who ascribes to this. And that means that they're going to most likely live that out later on. They're much more likely to live it out later on if it was an interview question and I had to prove to you that I'm good at this in order for you to hire me. Now I better put my money where my mouth is and actually be that
Absolutely.
avid,
Yeah.
doing it.
I mean, our whole
you had one of your people in a leadership development meeting that we had the other day, and how long has she been working for your company?
Long time, about 4 years, I think. 2 to 4 years.
Okay,
Don't even
but still, she seemed very.
I know
very young.
she seems like
she's in a
she's been there
leadership
forever.
development.
She is. Oh yeah, and I give her a lot of leeway because pretty much she tells me what I need to do. All right,
Yeah.
so I give her the permission to yell at me and to straighten me out and to get me to the right meetings and so on. And
Right.
this is worth it, Anthony. This isn't. So she's keeps track of everything for me. But the culture is very important, and that's something we ingrain in our employees. Our culture is basically we generate loyalty with our clients and prospects, right? With heart. Heart is our acronym for honesty. All right. E for excellence, A for accountability, R for reliability, and T for thinking positive. So
Nice.
we have that going on so that we every part of that, and every day, 5 of them, we go through every day with our stand-up meetings in the morning. We review the culture and why it's important, and what we also try to assign a story to each one of them.
Nice. Do you and I'm sure that you
Mhm.
celebrate people for demonstrating, hey, Mary demonstrated this characteristic yesterday, and it was great to see her use this whatever this core value in execution with a client or with a team member.
Yeah, we have our stand-up meetings in the morning, and we pretty much have a meeting going on all day, and then breakout sessions and so on as needed. But the end of the day is we talk about burning issues and good news. Specifically,
Nice.
we want to go over the good news, and that's part of what the accomplishments were of the individual and the story behind it.
Hmm. So a lot of great strategies here that I think most businesses miss, and that's the morning meeting to align everybody into the day, the afternoon meeting, the Friday meetings, right? Taking time, deliberately creating time in the calendar where people know this is the time that I'm going to stop. I'm going to think. I'm going to think about the business. I'm going to think about the customers. Earlier, you said interviewing the customers, right? How many people interview their own clients? Not a lot. You might think, hey, I do that, but in a formalized fashion, that it's part of the culture where I'm not going to be afraid to hear news from the customer that's going to give me extra work to do, or might hurt my feelings, the only way I can fix it is if I know about it, right? So
Absolutely.
why lose a customer, a year from now because something happened now and they're not talking about it, and then they just sort of drift. The relationship drifts off over time. So kudos
Yeah,
and bravo to you and your team for implementing this and interviewing the customers, setting time aside to talk and to listen, right? So I call it listen first leadership. Most leaders believe that they should be doing the talking, but you're saying, hey, I believe I should be doing the listening. My team knows best. You even told us that your assistant, I guess she's your executive assistant who was on the other day. She tells you what's right, what's wrong, what's, where you need to be, what's worthwhile and not, it's great stuff. Like, so that shows humility as a leader, and you as a leader can demonstrate these, you've put them into practice, and hence you exist now for 35 years doing business, providing excellent service to your customers.
Yeah. And, in general,
Thank you for listening to the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp, the host of the International Leadership Podcast and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. Most leaders want to scale their businesses. The challenge is that you need to scale your own personal growth and leadership development in order to scale your business. You need to develop your own leadership as well as the leadership of the people underneath you. If you have a good team that's all moving in the same direction, helping to carry the load, you're going to be more successful at scaling your business. That's what Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions does. We train, we coach, we mentor, and we consult on business leadership strategy, leadership growth and development for leaders in the company in order to develop a good company culture, everyone's moving in the right direction, and to strategize your business for scaling. Give us a call at 631-770-7705 for a free initial consultation, or just email me at joe@beauchampteam.com. The contact information is right there on the screen, and I will respond to you and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. To your customers.
yeah. And, in general, we have these meetings, I call them TPAs, think, plan, actions, which we generate. But beyond that too, we also I do one-on-ones with the employees because I want to listen to them, obstacles they've run into, suggestions they make, and so on. Everybody has ideas, and I would love to hear them. But the think, plan, action, in order to have those, we first have it's called a GSD. I'll keep it clean, but it's get stuff done.
Get stuff done.
Basically, yeah. So what happens at that meeting? That happens like quarterly, sometimes twice a year, depending on the cadence and the need for it. But we review everything that is going on in the company. Now, each employee throws out 3 items that they think is important for their division, their team, themselves, of what we should be covering in the TPA meetings. So we end up with a whole board full of things. And at that, we end up picking the most important ones, the ones that actually can pull levers. And then we make them into TPAs, think, plan, action meetings. And some of those can be, daily. Some could be, once a week, some once a month, depending on the cadence and the need for that meeting. But the think is like, clearly define the issue, opportunity, desired outcome, and why it matters. The plan is determine the people, steps, resources, responsibilities, measurements, KPIs, and timeline to make it happen. And then action is executing the plan. That's an important step. Measuring the progress and any kind of address any obstacles, and then adjust as needed. And that's why those meetings are very important. And then the varying cadence depending on the depending on what the need. And then we also we'll revisit the meetings once in a while, because if it's not needed anymore, we get rid of it. The best thing to do is minimize the number of meetings you have. You don't want to have meetings.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of companies that have too much, just too many meetings, and and others that don't have enough meetings, right? So, and I guess the number of meetings is actually relevant to your business, needs at the time, customer experience, business model, et cetera. So,
but the key takeaway in that is the meetings need to have and produce decisions and ownership of who's going to take care of it and movement. And then when that objective is completed, the meeting ends. We're done with that TPA series until the next GSD meeting, and then we'll add new ones.
One item that people sometimes overlook is that if you're not clearly defining who is the owner of that action step, if it's not just one person who owns it, it's like nobody owns it, right? So, we talked about it getting done at the meeting, but we didn't clearly define who owns it. You're walking away, the action's not going to get taken. Or if you try to give it to two different people to do it at the same time, it's not going to get done either, right? There's going to be
a RASI matrix. Yeah. We actually have that. We have somebody has to take ownership of it, to take responsibility for the outcome of that meeting. So it ends up working out very well. So as long as there's somebody accountable, things do get done.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your accountability system, because I have a 3-part leadership process. We call it Leadership Unleashed. It's inspiration, activation, transformation. And the third phase, that transformation phase, includes accountability coaching, right? So it's where we're holding our team accountable, and it's not in a way of holding people accountable by slapping their hand. Hey, you didn't do this, but okay, what obstacle got in the way, and how can I help you overcome that obstacle next time? Tell me a little bit more about your accountability system, because accountability, obviously, it's not a 4-letter word, but most people don't like it.
But it's accountability without the micromanagement. All right. And way we do is the employees and managers agree on role-specific metrics, that are relevant, realistic, achievable, and connected to the company and client outcomes. So that's agreed upon with the employees. So it's not like we're holding them to metrics that we came up with. They came up with them as well. So the employees now enter their metrics.
That's a huge part, right? So very, very frequently, I tell people, not me, but leaders will tell their team, hey, you need to do this. And then they're not going to own it as much as if I said, okay, hey team, we got to get here. What do you think is the right measurement? What scores can you get? What achievement, or what measurable productivity or quality do you want to be measured? What measurements do you think are attainable?
You can't. This way, when I would come up for reviews and I was talking about it, I say, well, you don't want to come up with this, so let's see why, then we analyze it and see what's working, and we don't point fingers. But, but the thing is, as far as the entry, like every Friday, for example, we enter the metrics, everybody, including myself, has to enter into a company world-class dashboard. Every aspect of the company is on that dashboard with a metric assigned to individuals. Sometimes an individual head of a team.
Did you create that dashboard? I mean, you are a tech company. Did you write the?
We had help create it. We had used a consultant that helped us create that dashboard. But I got to say, we automated it and we took it to the next level from, in order to make it for our company. But you start with the basic framework. And then, Monday morning, we review the metrics that we entered the previous week. And then we take a look at it. We don't point fingers. We just take a look at trends and so on. And then, any kind of positive movement, performance drift, recurring obstacles, capacity concerns. It could be that we're a shorter technician now. We need to hire somebody because the ticket load is becoming too much now. And we see the number. We could see okay, we know based on metrics, each technician can handle 10 tickets a day. And now we're getting more like 20. Well, guess what? It's time to hire another tech.
Yeah.
And then, what training might be needed and where the process might fail. We're very well process driven. But anyway, like a declining number may indicate unclear expectations, a broken process, insufficient resources, like I said, maybe hiring another person, excessive workload, and again, maybe a personal issue, or just a poorly designed metric. So we will analyze it and see where the problems are. On the personal note too, which is important too, even our exec meetings in the morning, you got to remember that we're a remote company, mostly remote. We have a beautiful office in Babylon Village on the lake.
We should go down there one of these days and take a look at it. You and I will meet there. We'll
I'll meet
walk
you.
Around the lake.
That the employees, if the employees are there, if they want to be, or they can work remote. It's up to them. But that whole idea behind that is that they can, they can show up and but I'm finding that remote work, we're 120% I get out of the employees. They're giving me so much more because there's the work-life balance. And that's what I want to get into, is that even our exec meetings, we meet early on a Monday morning, for example, before the day even starts. And we, and the employees do this too, is that, on a scale of 1 to 5, how much can you put in the business today? Because sometimes people have stuff going on at home
Right.
that's just like overwhelming. And I always want to know it. If it's like I could do a 5 today, it means I'm 100% into the business. Sometimes it's a 4 or a 3. And that means like, oh, I'm maybe 80% into the business today,
Right.
and 20% I got to deal with some personal stuff. That's okay. As long as I know that, I can have other people take over and like fill in the
Right.
gaps. So, it's very employee centric company. So I do listen to the employees, and we do have mechanisms in place to address
Yeah.
this.
That's awesome. I'll tell you that, in John Maxwell talks about the 5 levels of leadership, and level 2 leadership, which is really the foundation level. I know that it sounds like it should be level 1, but level 1 is based upon I'm your boss. And so that's really not effective. Level 2 is on relationship. And what I always tell people is if you're the leader, have a relationship, like it's relationship first with your employees. And the statement that I like to try to make is that I say, if it's important to you, it's important to me. Right. And that's what you're doing. You're asking people to check in every morning, say, hey, listen, hey, what's going on in your life? Because your life, the fact that you're a human being, you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a kid, you're a sibling, you've got a dog, you've got items in your life that are important to you. That's important to me too. I just want to know, hey, where are you checking in today? If you've got these other things, that's okay. We'll figure it out. Just let me know, because what's important in your life is important in my life. And so you've like just woven that into the structure of your company. It's just how we do things here, which is what creates the culture. When you're able to say at a company, this is just how we do it here, that's your textbook for this is our company culture. And so you're really following, I'm going to say, like, you're really that example of all the good leadership strategy. I hate to keep blowing your horn here. So
boy, I'm telling you, don't let my employees
but
know this.
I'm really impressed with how this is. I think some people like read these books and they're like, oh, it's a bunch of garbage, but you took it to heart and you've implemented all these good strategies in your business, which is why your business is thriving and still here 35 years later. And you've got employees who work from home and are producing 120% of what they would be producing in the office, because they're bought into it. They want to see the company succeed. They want to help it grow. They want to service your customers. If you care about your employees, they can care about the customer, right? They can care about the mission of the company.
Absolutely.
They can care about you. If you don't care about the employees, they have to care about themselves. And if they're caring about themselves first, they're going to try to get I just want to get paid for doing the minimum amount of work that I need to get done. I'm not super invested. So, I just posted on LinkedIn earlier today that 2/3 of the employee workforce in America is disengaged at work, and they're disengaged at work because of their leadership, right? So you're getting this, you're getting engagement because you're showing your team, you've embedded it into the structure of your team that you are important to me. I value you. I value your life. I value what's important to you. And because of that, they're like, you know what? I'm bought into this. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to make sure this company is successful.
Absolutely. Even the reviews we do. The employees do self-reviews, which I did my own the other day, and I was critical on myself. Boy, I gave myself some bad grades on this. But you got to be honest. So, and it's not like I hold anything against anybody, but you just look at it like where things need to be improved. So the employees do their own, assess their own accomplishments, challenges, support needs, developmental interest, training they might need, and the goals for the next quarter. They set them. And then I'll review it, or the management should say will review it. But management adds its own review and perspective as well. And then the process reveals gaps on how the employee views the performance, how management views it, and what the role requires and what the employee wants for the future. So we see that gap, and then we try to address the gap. It might be more training. It might be, more team building meetings, or, we take that feedback to heart. And then, as the CEO, I'll have one-on-one meetings with the employees over the quarter, and discuss their growth path, career goals, challenges, job satisfaction. Again, training is important, and then how leadership can better support them. Right? And I maintain an open door policy, so an employee, does not have to wait, to a quarterly review to get a hold of me for something. They know they can get me at any time, and to basically review things.
So I will say, that I usually discourage what most people refer to as an open door policy in place of regularly scheduled meetings with the employees. But you already have the regularly scheduled meetings with the employees, right? So you're already asking them, you're already asking the good questions. So a lot of leaders will use this, quote unquote, I have an open door policy, but they're not going out to meet with their employees and asking, hey, what could we do better? How can I support you better? Not having them evaluate themselves, not having them, like all the other pieces aren't in alignment. And so the open door policy ends up backfiring because person A goes and talks to you for everything. Person B won't even tell you if the building's on fire, right? They're like, oh, I just put it out myself, right? You find out a month later, like, hey, what happened? Oh yeah, the building was on fire.
That's why the scheduled meetings are very important. We have them. We call them what works, what doesn't meetings. Okay, and the management will have it with the employees on a regular basis. It's scheduled, and then I'll have them as well that are scheduled. And then, I'll just tell at the end of that meeting, I said, listen, if anything comes up in the meanwhile, you know where I am. You have my cell number. Just give me a call and I'll be more than happy to work things out or walk in my office and we'll discuss it. So that's what I mean by the open door. But the scheduled meetings are important this way, kind of, there's a cadence there that I'm going to be speaking to. And the other thing, too, is having different people like the managers talk to the employees first because they might have a better rapport. Then, because sometimes they're fearful of talking to the CEO, which I don't know how I'm fearful, but you never know.
Judging by everything you've said so far, I don't know that any of your employees are afraid of you. You seem like you're doing all the right pieces, but yeah, some people are intimidated by, oh, he's a CEO, and they feel like, maybe they can't talk to you, but it's good that you have the meetings with everybody. You manage. It sounds like you're really doing everything right. I'm sure you didn't. I mean, you could have. You're a smart dude. You could have figured this all out on your own. But did you get it from books? Have you? Were you?
All over the place. I'm in peer groups of other companies like myself, but I've kind of had this ingrained in my DNA since day one. That I'm just I'm always out to help the clients and my employees. I'm always looking out for them, and trust me, like if I ran the company now the way I did 35 years ago, I'd probably get arrested because of the questions I asked. Because I mean, back then there was like no rules, and I was asking, what are your plans? Are you doing this? You gonna have a family? So I can do it. One was a teacher, and she wanted to do some more teaching and training. Well, I put her into one of the schools as a TA, training as a teaching assistant, and technical teaching assistant, where the school ended up hiring her as a teacher because that's really was her goal. She wanted to be a teacher in a school. So I kind of knew this ahead of time, and we worked towards it. But so I'm saying is that it's important to have discussions that don't get me arrested, that will help the employee grow.
That's awesome. I really think that you're doing so much, just so much of the stuff that every company should be doing, and I just hope that people really get a hold of this stuff. Actually works. Like it's not just theory in a book. It actually, if you implement this strategy, you meet with your team, you tell them how much you care, you have regularly scheduled meeting, you ask them their opinion. Everybody's on a growth plan. Everybody has objectives. People self-evaluate, right? But they can self-evaluate because they trust you. So we talk about the three most important character traits of a good leader. Number one is humility. Number two is trustworthiness. And number three is courage. And so, you're demonstrating the humility because you're listening to people. You're demonstrating that trustworthiness, right? Because you're showing that you care about your team members, and you're creating your own growth plan. You're doing your own self-evaluation. So you're leading by example, and the team knows, hey, I can trust Anthony. He's on my side. He's my partner in my success, and I can be therefore invested in his success and the success of the company. So I think it all just fits together in one big picture. Do you have any particular, books or strategies that you would recommend? I always try to recommend books to our listeners.
Well, like I said, I started with Who Moved My Cheese.
Who Moved My Cheese? Great
keep
book.
the business fresh.
Yeah, is that Spencer Johnson? And is that a Spencer Johnson book?
I don't know.
Okay, Who Moved My Cheese? It's a famous book. You can't miss it. If you look it up, you'll find it.
And there was also I don't know. It's like a dozen other books I've gone through that recommendations from other people and so on. I still have like another 30 books I still have to read. Okay, that's one of my metrics. Every month I have to read a book.
Good.
Okay, so yeah. The other thing is like, at these peer meetings and so on, other businesses like myself from across the country, that I always give them, like, they always ask me like with tips and stuff like that. I said, well, you got to create a place for ideas, meaning employees, often see problems and opportunities, before leadership does. Give them a structured method to raise those ideas. That's the what works, what doesn't meetings. That's also the GSD meetings, and then it ends up turning into a TPA. So we have that in place. Then we want to convert those ideas into owned initiatives, meaning like sometimes the employee that came up with the idea is going to own it. I said, that's a great idea. Why don't you run with it?
Yeah.
And then here's a desired outcome, give a timeline, meeting cadence and a measurement, because some of these TPA meetings will be run by that employee. And then measurable outcomes. That's why I said the world-class dashboard. It's measurable outcomes, not activity. I mean, you could dig a hole for 2 hours and fill it back in, but you're sweating, but were you productive?
Right.
No. So being productive is very important. So being busy does not necessarily mean progress is being made. That's why we're trying to be not just busy but effective.
Right.
That's one of my morning mantras that I go through. And then you want to test the change internally, hence remove my cheese. Before advising clients on something, we take it internal. We try it ourselves. AI, we did it for ourselves for the last 2 years. And we ran into a lot of problems and so on, but we did this first to ourselves, so we understood it very well. And then we put it out to our clients. But we have a lot of AI initiatives happening, bots that we've created, and so on, that we're using internal. So it's working well.
Tell us a little bit more. Our audience is very interested in AI. It's the hottest topic for the last, couple of years now. What
45 in my case.
Yeah, it's crazy that you were working with AI back 45 years ago. The other thing that's crazy.
Yeah, I can't tell you more than that.
You weren't a kid 45 years ago, that somebody actually entrusted you. Like, you look young enough to be, I would have put you.
Yeah, I wasn't 5 years older when they did it. I was a little older. I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I thought you were around my age. I'm 55.
No, I'm older, but thank you for thinking.
The math actually works out.
I gotta dye this beard.
If you dyed it, you'd look even younger. You'd probably look like 45.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna have to dye it tonight.
Next time I see you, you'll have a black dye.
So anyway, 2 years ago, we dove in, and I had the employees. I said, listen, everybody, start learning it. Start learning AI. Just try it. Copilot. I bought the licenses. Try ChatGPT. Just start playing around with it. I did too. I started playing around with it when ChatGPT first came out, and I was overhearing my wife talking to her sister about their brother's food poisoning, and I was just typing in just the symptoms into ChatGPT. When I heard all the symptoms, ChatGPT comes back and says he's having a stroke. Send him to the hospital immediately.
Wow.
So I yelled over to them, and I ended up getting his daughter to go, whose husband's a cop, picked him up. He had a stroke. Wow. Yeah. So I was sold at that point. And that was like not putting any PII, and there was just descriptions of symptoms.
Right.
But since then, I had the employees start learning it and going through it. And to the point now, we used to have weekly meetings, one of the TPAs, to go over AI. It's not enough because things are changing so quickly.
Yeah.
We have it part of the morning stand-up. And, some of the things we've done internally, have a whole, again, we're technical advisors with 4 divisions. We have the MSP, which is the tools that protects the company, all the cyber protections and stuff like that, along with all the services that we have. We command about, even though we're small, like 10 employees and consultants, we command like 7,000 because of the way we're structured. Right. We're like conductors in an orchestra. But so what happens is that the bots and everything we've created and so on over time were developed on the MSP division to get rid of one of the delivery areas, which is centralized services, which is a very mundane task. It's a lot of going through a lot of different computers, seeing if the patches are done and making sure all the services are running right and all that. We used to pay for an outside service to do that for us. Now, instead, we now have it internal. It saves us like 10 grand a month.
Wow.
Just that alone.
That's huge.
So yeah, 2 bots are doing it. And then the other one is the telemarketer. We have Megan, who is a telemarketer. What she does is go through our CRM, calls up and verifies the contact information that the person the main contact is still working there. If not, who took over? And she'll update the CRM automatically. And we have Vicky, who's a receptionist. Vicky can speak any language, works 24/7, never complains. But it doesn't, in this case, it's not really replacing anybody. It's helping us embellish our company even better. Other than replacing services that are out there, we haven't had to, we're not replacing employees. Instead, we're making their jobs better, more efficient, definitely more accurate.
So when I called earlier today, I was speaking to an AI bot.
It depends on the time of day.
Okay. Okay.
Depends on the time of day, because I do have a live receptionist, because I think that's still very important.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was,
but
human.
I have other clients that are like an attorney's office that would love the virtual receptionist, because they have multiple languages that people calling in. And instead of sending it and transferring it over somebody's desk that speaks that language, or that happen to be, maybe they're at lunch, this bot will take care of it. And the bot will also, like in my case, if somebody's looking to schedule an appointment with me, the bot will check my calendar, and Vicky will check my calendar and make an appointment for the person at the other end. Same with Megan will do that too, if she happens to talk to somebody that says, yeah, I'm interested in this, because everyone knows Megan doesn't hide that she's a bot. And I've had one client now ask me, like, we want that. How can I get that? Okay, and she had Megan. They had Megan make an appointment with me.
So is that a service that you offer to your clients? Is like AI?
It is now.
Like receptionists and stuff like that?
Yes, definitely, because we now know we're very good at it.
Yeah.
So we have that now offered out to our client base. We also have another one called Jarvis. Jarvis is more for internal use, and what it does is pretty cool. We have, ticketing systems for the MSP division that can come in either from the person's computer. They can call it in. It can get transcribed. It could be an email. It might be something even after hours. Again, it gets transcribed and sent in, or Vicky will answer the call, transcribe it, and then send it over to Jarvis. Jarvis now will pull that information from our database of who the client is, what the problem is, and assign the right technician for it. Instead of trying to go from the bottom up, it knows it's going to be something that's going to be escalated, so we'll send it to the escalation team. Jarvis also gives that technician everything about the client that they need to know in one fell swoop. And we use Slack for doing that. Slack is our internal communications and external with our clients, that they're able to actually, pose a question right to our escalation team if need be. And then the other part of it too, if somebody's calling in just off the cuff and, found us on the internet, Jarvis, or Vicky will pick up and just send it over to Jarvis. Jarvis will research that company immediately, give us information about that company, about the size of it, where they're located, and what kind of business it is before we even pick up the call.
It's amazing.
I want to introduce you to Live to Lead Long Island. Live to Lead Long Island is a full-day leadership conference. It's hosted by myself, and we have some other great speakers there. John Maxwell will be attending virtually through pre-recorded video, but there'll also be some live speakers there. And it's a day full of inspiration, leadership strategies, life strategies. You will develop yourself as a leader, as an overcomer. My goal is to cram pack as much value into that day as possible. I want more for you than I want from you. You will walk away with tools and tips and strategies that you could use right away to start implementing in your life to get better results with your team, with your family, with your personal self. It's made for everybody, whether you're the multi-billion-dollar leader of a multi-billion-dollar company, or whether you're a startup entrepreneur, solopreneur. There is value there for you. So great networking. It's on Hop Long Island. It's coming up January 22nd. It's a Friday. It's a full day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. event, cram packed. You're going to get a delicious breakfast, lunch, plenty of opportunities to network. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's music, there's dancing, there's tools and tips and strategies, everything leadership based. You're going to have a great time. Check out the website, live, the number 2, lead, LEAD, LI for longisland.com, live to lead li.com. The QR code is down below. Check it out. Register today. If you're interested in being a sponsor, click on the link down there and request sponsorship packages. We're happy to have you as a sponsor. We're selling tables at a discounted price. So sign up today. It's not too soon. January 22nd, it's a Friday, full day event. Live to lead Long Island. Talk to you soon. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks.
Before we even pick up the call.
It's amazing.
Pretty cool stuff.
That's definitely very cool technology. What would you say is the number one reason why a customer out there would say, you know what, I really need LI Tech advisors? What should they, like, somebody's listening right now and they're like, this guy Anthony seems great. Joe's talking highly about him. But what are they going to see in their own company and their own self that says, I need to make this phone call, or I need to go on their website. I need to.
Well, sometimes businesses don't even know the question to ask, and that's where I can come in. I'm good at advice. A sounding board. Even if they're not, and I will tell a prospect if they're not a good match for us. I'll say, look, this is something, and I'll give them 15 minutes of free advice of what direction they need to go.
Yeah.
Because not everybody is, we have certain ideal client profile, and the ideal client profile, they could be a small company, it could be a 5, or 2 user company, but they have to be growth.
Right.
There's somebody that's looking to grow. All right. If they're looking to exit and, diminish that could also be a perfect client. I have a company right now that's looking to exit in like 5 years and transition. They're looking to start selling. And my attitude to them, and I opened their eyes to this. I said, your profit margin is only like 13%. We can probably get it up to over 20. The EBITDA, we can definitely get you from 4x to maybe 8x or more.
Right. By
just moving a few levers. I see right off the bat that you need to fix. So I had that level of conversation with them. So, that's what I mean is that, I want to just talk to a prospect first and see if we're matched, number two. And number two is see if they're willing to work with us in the sense of making some hard decisions sometimes about their business, because sometimes it may be time to exit, and what we need to do to get it the most profitability. The other time is that maybe their problem is that they just don't have the bandwidth or the internal processes and so on that they can expand. Like I have another client right now that has more work that he can handle. He's got stuff coming in the door that he can't handle. He's overwhelmed, and that's what I would like to working with him right now in the initial stages to help him realize what levers we need to pull on that end to help him be able to grow and expand. And I have a lot of stories like that we've helped an attorney firm. One of the attorney firms that's been my client for 25 years, we helped him find $2 million of potential ROI when a new medication came out as a negligence attorney, and we were able to search his entire client database and show him those potential companies. And the manufacturer we're working with right now is losing between $5,000 and $10,000 a week in mistakes, and that's one of the reasons we want to help him out. So this is ROI immediately. It's not, it's not like the MSP division, which everybody kind of classifies as just tools, and it's like a line item expense. When we add these other layers in, all right, the VCIO layer, for example, that's the conversations. That's the business level strategic conversations we have with our clients to talk about where they're going, what their plans are, and so on. When we talk about that, then we can roll in the AI division and the business intelligence. And sometimes AI is not the answer.
Right.
Sometimes it's just clarity on the owner understanding exactly what he needs to see to make better decisions. Sometimes it's just a dashboard. I have one in the morning I wake up to, shows me the entire health of my company, where I need to go, where I've been, and where what are my goals and objectives this month.
Listen, as you're talking to these clients and you think, hey, they could use some leadership development strategy as well, because it sounds like a lot of these companies are great fits. Businesses that are growing and they need new mindset, incorporate better structure in their company when it's all.
Oh, absolutely. I stop there. I would call in an expert at that point. And that would be you.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds great. So Anthony, we gotta wrap up in the next minute or so for this episode. We super appreciate you. Any parting comments that you have to our listening audience? What do they need to know? Tips, advice, anything you wish you'd said you didn't get a chance to say?
Oh, gee. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Well, Well, my job as the CEO is not to make every decision, first of all. Right. It's just basically to build a company capable of making good decisions. And leadership's not about having all the answers. It's creating an organization where the right questions can be raised,
Right.
the right people can contribute, and good ideas can be turned into measurable action. All right. And our systems may not be perfect. We're always refining them, but they continue to evolve.
Yeah.
And a combination of trust, accountability, employee communication, measurable outcomes, all that stuff is that's the biggest lesson right now, for another business owner. Listening to your people and your clients.
Yeah. I call it listen first leadership, right? get more.
Mhm.
Actually, there's a book.
Absolutely.
I'm just listening to a book right now on listening. I can't remember the name of it or the author. Give me a second to see if I can find it right away.
Yeah, it's listen and listen more.
Listen again, listen more.
Yeah, something like that. Yes.
Just Listen, actually, is the title of the book. Just Listen, from Mark
Mhm.
Goulston, I think his name. Just Listen by Mark Goulston. Discover the secrets to getting through to absolutely anybody. And it's really just the value of listening and how it
Mhm.
it just helps people build connections by being a good listener. Active listening.
Absolutely.
A lot of people listen to speak. It's a matter of listening to listen. So yeah, I just really appreciate, you are confirming that this stuff actually works. So I'm glad that you're implementing good leadership strategies and it's making a difference in your company. You've been around for 35 years. Hopefully your company's around for 35 more at least, and doing bigger, better, greater things, servicing your customers. So any parting words other than what you just said now, or?
Let's see. Processes, are very important. But again, my job as a CEO is not to make every decision. I depend on my employees and I listen to them.
Yeah. So onboarding the right people that you can trust to do that, and creating that
Mhm.
right environment for your employees to feel safe and be able to contribute, right? And recognizing, valuing your employees enough to say, hey, you're the frontline workers and what you have to say matters to me. And
Mhm.
that's what we're going to make our decisions from. That empowers them to be aware and to make up, to make their statements and to lead the
Yes.
company forward in a safe environment. So yeah, I think we're gonna, you and I are gonna talk some more and maybe be on the podcast
Mhm.
again and do some more stuff. I like to promote good people doing good leadership principles, and I liked you before. I like you even more now after hearing some of the great stuff that you've done with your company. So I appreciate you. So
I like you more that you think I'm, was it the late 40s now or
yeah,
something? I mean, that.
dye the
Like
beard, and
that.
we'll call you 40 years old.
Okay. We'll do that next meeting.
All right. Well, Anthony, great having you here. Once again, to our listening audience, we appreciate you listening in to us right here on the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp. My company is Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. We do work with businesses to help them to implement a lot of the strategies that you hear Anthony is already implementing on his own in his company. We want you to be successful. We want you to be relatively low stress by doing the tool. If you use the proper leadership tools correctly, you'll get good results. Better leaders get better results. That's just the bottom line. We know what works. We know how it works. We know why it works. And we will help you to implement those good leadership strategies. So Anthony's a great example of this. I wish I could take credit for his great leadership ability and style and mindset, but I can't. But he's just a great example of how to do the right thing for your employees, for your customers, and to lead well in that. So thanks again for joining us right here. We'll be back next week on the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, signing off. We'll see you all soon. Anthony, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching our podcast of the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, president and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. That's beauchampteam.com. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in being a guest or a sponsor of this program, please give me an email at info@beauchampteam.com. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and discuss options and how it can work something out for everyone to win. Thank Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.